I work at the Office of Behavioral Health, and I'm Colorado's System of Care, COAC Colorado Project Director. I'm super excited to just see we have 29 people, and so I anticipate a few more folks joining us. We are recording this meeting, so I know a few people have to jump off early, and several people couldn't join us today. And so we will be sharing this as well as a few other resources, as well as some of the information from our survey results that we have in our presentation. And so just want to kick off and welcome everybody joining today. This is our COAC Colorado statewide Youth and Family Hub project kickoff. And so we're really excited to provide a high level overview to everybody about this work. There will be a lot of questions, and we will be capturing those throughout, whether those come in chat as well as if folks decide to unmute themselves. So just wanting to let folks know this initiative is, we'll be using a collective impact framework as its development over the years, and using system of care principles, values and principles as its foundation, and really focusing in on our value of being family driven and youth guided. We have developed this work and project through support from SAMHSA, Substance Abuse and Mental Health, at the federal level, of really being able to engage young people as well as our families and caregivers that we work with to understand what are the supports needed for them. And so we've done this through various focus groups, through the Roadmap to Reform, I believe in 2018. We've had various focus groups with young people and family members through some of our COAC retreats, as well as other projects that we have done, as well as our stakeholders. And so we really see that community organizing and advocacy is linked to, as many of you know, if you are on my email distribution list, the broader behavioral health transformation efforts that are happening here in Colorado right now. And so we're really excited to have you here today to learn more about how this work all integrates and the opportunities for young people and family to have their voices heard and engaging in the reforming or establishing of behavioral health here in Colorado. So as I said, there'll be lots of opportunities for your feedback using some survey links. If you have questions, please add those in chat. We have many folks here that are keeping an eye on chat, and we'll do our best to answer questions. Any questions we don't get, we will be putting those into a frequently asked question or an FAQ that we'll send out and follow up. So without further ado, I am going to kick it over to Kippy and get us started.
Great. So Drake is our mentee expert. So Drake, do you want to tell everybody how to jump into our first slide? There will be lots of surveys and ways for you to give input throughout the presentation. So this first one is to get you warmed up.
Yeah, you can kind of see at the bottom corner here, to participate, you can go to mentee.com and put in this code, or you can just click on the link that I've just put in the chat. That'll kind of take you directly there. So either or, click on the link in the chat or go to mentee.com and enter that code down there at the bottom, 3714276.
Great. So it looks like we're getting a good response of people who are here. go ahead and we'll give this about a minute more, and then we'll continue with our presentation. All right, let's jump to next slide. So in today's presentation, I'm going to let each of the folks introduce themselves. So we'll start with Denise.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here today. My name is Denise McHugh, and along with Drake, we'll be serving as the backbone for this collaborative effort. And we'll be kind of more behind the scenes than the others. And kind of, I look at it as we're kind of the glue that brings all these multiple perspectives and entities together. And so we'll be providing project management and strategic financing, sustainability, data and evaluation, and technology. And Drake, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Drake, and as Denise just mentioned, I'll be working with Spark as the backbone organization. I'm more kind of doing the technology side of things and some administrative help as well. So yeah, that'll be my role. And so I'll pass it on to Palmer.
Thank you, Drake. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here as well. I'm Palmer Johnson, and I'm the director of Mission Possible. And we are as part of this group, we're the liaison that is going to kind of take the lead on the Family Hub and house the lead family coordinator. So very excited to do this, and really just very excited to point out that our role in that lead is really just that. It's to, the bigger job is to incorporate a much broader perspective and help that come together. So it's a, definitely a community driven process that we're really wanting to help facilitate. And Terry,
hi.
sorry.
That's all right. Hi, I'm Terry Anderson. I'll be working on this project as the Family Hub liaison. So basically supporting the project and the lead family coordinator as family advocacy or advisory board is built, etc. I'm really excited to be doing this. We've been working for a long time to create wider access. And so I think this is going to be a tremendous project. I'm really happy to be involved.
And I'm Kippy Clausen, and I am going to be supporting the Youth Hub as the youth liaison. I will be helping support the activities of Youth Move Colorado, led by our Vista Corps. So I oversee our Vista Corps. And then additionally, really supporting growing youth voice and youth engagement across the state. Part of our requirement with this, which we are so excited, is to have a young adult who serves as our Youth Hub coordinator, and that's Toby. So I'll turn it over to you, Toby, to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey there. I'm the young adult that Kippy was just speaking about. My name is Tobio, or just Toby. I am a YMCO Vista with COACT Colorado, and I will be supporting the Youth Hub.
So today we have just a brief hour and a half. So this is a very, like we said, high level overview. Our main goals is to really create a strong foundation and understanding about really what is the Family Youth Hub and its purpose. We'll also be providing some information about structures that we're putting together to really provide opportunities for engagement of youth and families. And then the last thing that we're hoping to cover here is really to make sure you get familiar with us and our role. This is a very collaborative effort. We have built this opportunity as a collective impact model, which means there will be lots of moving parts, and we will be making sure that our moving parts are linked, that we have shared measures, that we have a shared agenda. And to go over that, I'm going to turn it over to Denise and Spark and Drake, because they are the partners that will be guiding those activities. Oh, I should start as we kick off. We're going to turn you over, but you know, one of the things that we thought would be really great is a lot of people talk about authentic family and youth voice, but we'd love to hear from you about what that means to you, and how would you describe authentic family and youth voice. So again, you can go to mentee.com, and you should have, if you've kept that window open, and if not, you just put, Drake will add the Mentee link in the chat again, but please go ahead and start adding what authentic family and youth voice means to you. The concept of collaboration and decision-making is really key. And so those will be things we'll be making sure happen. Listening without judgment and active listening. That's a great input. A lot about unfiltered judgment, unfiltered thoughts and non-judgment. We really are going to be relying on you all to make sure that we have a lot of family and youth involved in this. I mean, that is going to be key to us moving forward. And I believe, Denise, we'll leave this Mentee open, so please keep adding your thoughts, but I'll turn it over to you, Denise, because I think it would be great for people to really understand the purpose and how we're going to put things together to ensure that we have great partnerships and there's multiple ways for youth and family to be involved.
So what the Family and Youth Hub, as Kippy mentioned, we're using the collective impact frame based on system of care principles and values that Chris talked about earlier to really establish the infrastructure. And the slide before is, I was looking at it and reflecting on it, and it really is so on point in terms of what we're trying to achieve, as well as how the process by which to achieve it. So, but basically we're trying to establish and then implement an infrastructure that will help support family and youth driven solutions, creating statewide family and youth networks, and then also family and youth engagement at the state and local level. This is a multi-year project. We're just getting started now, but there's going to be many ways and opportunities for family and youth to be involved, to offer feedback and information throughout the creation and then the implementation of the hub. So next slide, please. Okay. And so basically, what will the Youth and Family Hub do? It's really meant to be a collective work. As you mentioned earlier, responses around collaboration. I mean, that's really the base of this. And it seeks to enhance both the voice and work of families and youth by working together. Um, and by working together, our voices will be stronger. And we're going to do this to guide the improvement of behavioral health services so that youth and families have timely access to effective services, particularly for marginalized communities and underserved or under-resourced areas across the state. The hub will also provide training and resources, and then also certification for family and youth, and also advocate at the agency and legislative levels. And again, talked about developing these networks and then also obtaining funding so that we can sustain the hub and its activities and services. Go ahead, Drake, if you want to advance. Okay, so I think Kippy, that may be you, or nope, it's still me. Okay, so now we want to come in here. The problem with it is we can't see the slides of the next person. So anyway, but how do you see yourself involved? How do you fit in given your role and perspective? And we'll give it a few minutes for people to respond. Great. And just so you know, while people are continuing to respond, part of why we're also asking some of these questions, it's actually to help inform the development of the hub as we see, like here, how people see themselves being involved. So it's not just a matter of answering the question, we're going to actually use the information. So what I hear here is a lot of liaisons supporting the work. And I think what's great is you've picked up on the fact that we're trying to create the infrastructure with all of your voices and also then helping to bring it back out to youth and families and communities. So I think I haven't seen another one come up, but I think we should advance to the next slide. Great. So we all introduced ourselves, but just this is kind of a recap, and we're really calling ourselves liaisons, which is why I really appreciated in the earlier slide that many of you are using that language, because we're here to help facilitate, bring together, as I mentioned, Spark Community Foundation, where Drake and I are, we're going to serve as the backbone, and you can see up there the kind of our responsibilities generally. As Palmer mentioned, Mission Possible is the home to the Family Hub, as well as the lead family coordinator and the Family Hub liaison. And then also all the family voice activities, and then unfolding directions with Kippy and Toby will be the home to the Youth Hub. And also will the hub liaison, and same thing as the family side, the youth voice activities. So with that, next slide, please. Okay. And Palmer, I'm gonna turn this to you now.
Okay, thank you. So this slide is kind of an overview. It's actually already kind of incorporates some of the stuff that's already been talked about. And then after this, there'll be parts of what we talk about that plays into this, because this is the ultimate, I don't know if it's the ultimate goal, but a primary purpose of this is to have a sustained family and youth hub. And it's looking down the road, and it's taking those steps along the way that's going to allow us to be able to have that sustainability. And really encouraging to me was to see those the mentee around what you saw as your involvement is exactly what we need, is because there's a group of us, the liaisons, that are kind of taking the lead on this, but we were not taking the control of this. The whole point of this is to get those kinds of voices involved in this, and then really to have, which supports what that mentee said, is to have this process, excuse me, designed and run by youth and family voice, and what part they have in and to not just have say, but to really have influence and I don't want to say control, but direct where we're going with this. So I think that's really exciting that we're already kind of thinking about this as a collective group with all of us. Ultimately the family run organization, the youth run organization, that's something that we're striving for. And right now we're further along for sure with the youth run organization piece. And Kippy, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we have a really strong youth led organization through Youth Move. And that is housed under COACT, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's a real strong youth led, but not youth run. And I think one of the things we're going to be doing with the family hub is to really look at some of the learning processes that they've had over there with the youth hub piece, or youth run, let me correct, youth run organization, and really learn and build on with some of those learning lessons. And then ultimately, the goal would be to have a family and youth run separate organizations, to where that's really strong and rich with family and youth voice. And then I want to make one other note that, and this has been brought up before by Denise and by the group, is just to have youth and family voice at every level, at policy making, at program implementation and training and all of that, just to really bring that perspective at the forefront. And I know that is done to some degree in the system, but it's really to enhance that idea. So let's go to, I think there's a, what do we call it? A mentee next. So on this one, if you guys could put, how would you define success for the family and youth hub? So, it's again, very new, but just how will we know that this is working? Or, when it's, we never finish with something like this, but how do we know that we're being successful with all of the ideals that we just got done talking about? Okay, both very good, with a stronger youth and family voice than professional voice. So it's actually being driven by that voice as opposed to the professionals. Yeah, youth and family feedback. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. Youth are able to develop leadership skills and social skills, and families are able to build self-efficacy. So I think that's a real important part of in the creation of this, is really building those skill sets that where they can do this, that collective group can do this truly independently. Yeah, I like that, like from an evaluation standpoint, that we're getting positive feedback from the youth and families that they feel like it's successful, and professionals, of course. Okay, and on that last one, I'm just going to interpret maybe a little bit that the proper resources are available so this actually can be done, meaning that it sounds like a wonderful idea, but we really have to make sure that the support for the infrastructure is there. If I'm wrong on that, then I apologize to whoever wrote that. Yeah, more feedback, that's good. Okay, very good, thank you.
So one of the things you've heard us talk about is really building the helping relationship framework. And we started on this very early on with COAC. I've been lucky enough and had the privilege to be in since the planning year of COAC. COAC planning before even we got to COAC 3.0, so lots of years. And some of our initial work was really looking at what does that mean, and really how are family and youth involved in our behavioral health system and in our system of care. And, a couple things that we know is that, family and youth, all research says that family and youth would prefer to go to their peers and they trust their input. And you're going to hear much more from Toby. Soon, we will be having a lead family coordinator that will come on and serve in the family role as part of our core team. But really the aim of this is for us to also spend some time together with family and youth and hearing what that looks like. And what we know, and there's some great research out there, is we right now have our family advocates attached to our high fidelity wraparound continuum. But one thing we will be doing a lot of work on, and especially if you look at the behavioral health reform, if you look at all of the things that are happening in that arena, is really understanding how through system of care can we broaden opportunities for youth and family to be involved. And I have a handful of the most common one up here. You're going to see a little bit later on, we're going to talk about the concept of advocacy, community organizing and family and youth being leaders in advocating for a system that supports them and serves them and ensures that they have access to resources and timely response. And so that you'll see some advocacy opportunities within this. Navigation is one of those really core things. And one thing we do see within work that is evolving is in places to help families and youth stay stable. You see a lot of navigation work of navigators actually helping individuals get to services. When we think about navigation from our perspective, is how do we create roles that are formal roles in organizations for navigation? Coaching is one of the most common ways that we see family and youth involved. Community organizing is, really getting together and family and youth organizing around issues. This is a really place-based strategy. So working in local communities under our communities of excellence. And then lastly, one of the other very common ways is mutual aid. And so when we think about mutual aid, those are, might be our parents as partner group. Those might be other support groups that we have together with youth and family leading that. And, one way I will just say is that, you know, from a youth perspective, and Toby was part of this conversation, but we had this wonderful conversation about crisis services. And young people said we would have better response in crisis services if young people were part of that and we provided a paired response, where maybe youth were going out on those calls or families with them. And so know that as we build this family and youth hub, one of our big I guess opportunities for shared learning is to see from family and youth themselves, how would they see growing our workforce to support our system of care? So know that that's a really, you know, think of that as one of the pillars of our work. On the other side, we have to have an infrastructure. So Drake, I'll have you advance to the next slide. And we have, what's this workforce, or what does this look like from a sustained place? And then we had to build this infrastructure. And what you'll notice is this is really how we see our infrastructure. You can see that the family hub and the youth hub fairly mirror each other. And in the center, we have Spark Community, which has a lot of experience in being backbone organizations that are really kind of helping keep all our moving parts together. They'll be doing a developmental evaluation and really helping tell the story of what we've done and how we're moving forward. But in these two pillars, and you're going to hear a lot more about these groups, we are leaning into Youth Move Colorado. Toby's going to talk a lot more about that. Within that, we have some opportunities for youth to get involved that we'll share along the way. We are also working really hard within OBH. So I would say that's something super important as we look at this, is as we build out our family voice and youth voice, we're really beginning to understand where are those opportunities in pre-existing resources or efforts or programs that are shared or part of Office of Behavioral Health. So you'll see already in the Youth Hub, we have a network of the youth coordinators that are part of the Healthy Transitions group. And we also have our Vistas getting together, and soon we'll be bringing into other places that youth are involved in OBH, is to really coalesce this shared partnership on our young people. And so that will be a similar activity as we move over to the family hub. The other thing that is really important is family-driven and youth-driven program improvement. Palmer will talk a little bit more about it, but we're using two tools. One is the VOC, and the other is the YVAL. Those of you who've been in COAC for a while will know that we did one round of the YVAL. Our lovely VistaCore, and many of them are on this call listening in, we will be doing a second one. You know, no better way than to understand what we need to improve than having the recipients of our services guiding those improvements. So you'll see that that happens. This also links back into to the work at Kemp and our cross-system training efforts. So you'll see in there cross-system training is really, this is to be linked to that and tied into it. This is not standalone. And so as we move forward, really what will tie it all together is work that will be underneath Spark, which is this work to really get together a virtual technology offering that will kind of keep information coming. Soon you'll start seeing a shared calendar. You'll start seeing some ways that you all through a newsletter and other offerings will hear about our work, so that all we're doing is continually learning and building with family and youth, sharing out, bringing more family and youth together within this unified structure. Drake has added, but will continue to add in the chat, the link to sign up for our newsletter so that you can be kept aware of all of the opportunities. So if you have questions, this is a lot of information, and I saw folks saying, well, you get a copy of the diagram. Yes, you will. We'll make sure to send that out with our newsletter and everything after this, along with the recording. But please be sure to add your questions in the chat. We'll be taking those as we move forward, as we're starting to get in some of the details. And so with that, I'm going to take and have Drake advance to the next slide. And I'm going to turn it over to Tobio and Terry to really talk about the main components of the ways we're going to bring youth and family together. So Toby, do you want to talk a little bit about Youth Move Colorado?
Yeah, so basically Youth Move Colorado will be the advisory board for the Family Hub. It's kind of just we sort of board together, and we have chapter chats with a bunch of youth on the last Tuesday of every month at 4 p.m. We tend to encourage local communities and like schools and other places like youth centers where youth might hang out to try and recruit youth to participate. We also tend to send out a monthly newsletter, and we speak about opportunities where youth can share their thoughts and ideas and try to help us come to these decision-making skill assets that is very much needed within our hub. So Drake will add the July newsletter link as well, and as well as the link to the August Speak Up in the chat. And so it's just kind of, we create this newsletter that just tells us about, like, month to month the opportunities that we have, and when the next meetup is, and just kind of, we give a space for youth to really be able to put out their thoughts and ideas and what we can do to help improve our communities. Other than that, we also tend to try and provide a little bit of like encouragement via just a small stipend at the end of each meeting. They do have to participate in order to receive this. I'm gonna turn it over to Terry.
Thank you. So everyone has stated this so well, that the goal is genuine family and youth voice and leadership in this effort. The purpose of the project is really to serve our communities, family and youth through a real collective impact and system of care guided effort, placing the expertise of people with lived experience and in, the position they deserve, which is really driving agendas. As everyone probably realizes, we're just getting started. So I'd ask you to look for more information about the development of the advisory board, including a date for an introductory meeting in the fall sometime, probably more than one opportunity for that. We'll be establishing the advisory board as one of the first steps, because the lead family coordinator and the advisory board will be driving this effort, and their voice will be driving this effort. So I see being a liaison in this as being a real support for the organization of this goal. Thank you. So we have another mentee, and what I would ask is, what would you add to the Family Advisory Committee's agenda? What are the most important things that we need to think about and make sure that we cover in that agenda? Access to services is a really important one. The reforming happening in Colorado, I kind of interpret that as making sure that that there is family input and youth input on that reform, and making sure that it's moving forward with information. It's being informed by those voices every step of the way. Alignment with other initiatives, I am a big fan of that. I don't like siloing of things. And how do we keep families more engaged in processes and in these efforts? Domestic violence, that's an interesting one. How do we deal with domestic violence in families? That's something I'd like to hear more about. There's a biggie, mental health access. For those that don't have Medicaid, I think that there's a lot of reform that needs to happen for both those that do have Medicaid and those that don't, but there's definitely a huge gap there for folks. Housing shortages, taking care of basic needs so that we can move on to more development. Support for siblings, that I think could mean a couple of different things, but definitely the entire family unit is important in this. The IDD population, those with cognitive and developmental disabilities, this is an enormous gap in our community, enormous. So that is something that absolutely needs to be on the agenda. All right, well, it looks like we've hit a pause point. If you haven't entered your thoughts on this, please jot them down and save them for those meetings and planning efforts that are going to be going forward. Again, the resources and successes came up. Denise talked about that a bit. That is absolutely necessary in order to have a successful initiative. So thank you so much.
So when we talked about opportunities here, one of the things we will have is we will be bringing together family and youth fellows. This will be about an 11-month process. They will be peer learning opportunities. Each of the family members and youth will be able to apply for this. The groups will be about 10 youth and 10 adults. They'll be getting together and peer learning, and really the honorarium for this is close to, I think I have to look in the budget, I'm sorry, I don't have it, about $1,800 for the family and youth individually who sign up. They'll then be coming to monthly meetings. Part of that will be really some work on understanding the broader healthy relationship framework. Each of our family and youth with that honorarium will be able to create in their local community a project using a healthy relationship. Denise and Drake will be doing some evaluating through a developmental process to really see what we find. And what we believe is that this ongoing fellow program will do a couple things. It will help us really understand the broader roles and ways families can be and youth can be involved. There is not a lot of research out there. There is also not an awful lot of examples of that work. And so this is our opportunity to do it. We are really modeling this off of the Denver Foundation's Basic Human Needs Collaborative. Chris and Claudia came to some of those opportunities. Spark Policy was the evaluator from that. And really what, as under a published activity, the work of that got published and sparked a lot of conversations within the philanthropic world too about the importance of philanthropy coming to the table to increase dollars and resources for family and youth being part of our efforts to really create strong systems of care. So look for those applications. That will be, again, one of the first activities out of the start. So we imagine those applications coming out in late August, with our first cohort being selected and beginning working in early October, at the very beginning of October. Next slide. And as we advance, please add your questions. If any of the things we've talked about you have questions on, please add your questions and we'll make sure to catch them along the way. So Toby, I'll turn it over to you to talk about all of our moving parts. Whoops, you're on mute.
Thank you. So I was saying that there are many ways for our youth to get involved. So COAC YMCA's Vista's monthly meeting with the Office of Behavioral Health Youth Advisors. We currently have 7 youth vistas, and we are hoping to expand our core We're always kind of on the lookout, trying to look for new people. And like I said in the chat earlier, we're also just looking for more youth that can always join us in our chapter chats, our newsletter, just in general, things like that. We also are hosting a supervisor / case manager learning opportunities, especially for some of our newer folks and our newer vistas. One of the first things that is happening in August and we will be focusing on is working with LGBT youth, which honestly has me really excited as a man who is part of the queer community and really involved in that area. So we really just want to spend some time, and we like to focus on our marginalized and minority youth. And we try to we set aside time to be able to do this and focus on what needs to be changed in our marginalized communities. We also will be building youth engagement through our Youth Move chapters that will help guide a youth-driven program improvement. As we've talked about, we really are hoping on having an entirely youth-ran board. And so these chapter chats will really help us with driving the improvements that need to happen in our communities. So I will turn it over to Terry.
You're on mute now, Terry.
Sorry again. So what I was saying when I was muted is that I feel that we've covered a lot of this and really talking about what the goal is in making sure that this is a family-driven effort. The family lead representative working with the councils, the boards of advocacy family members, also in pulling in additional information from different sectors in the community, making sure that there is ample opportunity for input and to understand the needs of the community of family members is one of the main goals. The family-run organization, and you can see family is written there twice, so we really wanted to make sure that you got that the family was the center, is really a network of diverse organizations really working together on the ongoing work of access to mental health and other things. So this is something that we will also be getting a good deal of input about. Family Advocate Network, we really want to support the family advocacy workforce. That's one of the main goals in this, and to help develop those guidelines and processes in order to ensure that our workforce has the support and access to resources that they need in order to do the best job possible. So all of those things are in development and will be for some time, but that's a rough overview of the components of the networks.
And I did see a question there from Amy about flyers and information. Yes, there will be brochures and flyers coming in the chat, and Drake will add again. There's an opportunity to sign up for our newsletter, which is also a great way to get started. We just got our contract now very recently, and so we're in the process of really putting all these pieces together. So look for even more information. So Toby, do you want to ask this question?
Yeah, so there are a lot of opportunities for youth and family voice. So we really just kind of want to know if you could add in the survey, like what community organizations and partners do you guys think that we should open up to and talk with about our existing hub and family coordination. Posada, I've never heard of that. Hilltop, let's see, of management programs and integracy. I think integracy oversight groups is definitely an important one. Therapists, most definitely. Schools, youth drop-in centers. These are all wonderful ideas. Thank you guys. Executive director. Definitely, that is one thing that is on our agenda, is to present at other executive director boards and lead governor commissions at the state. We really want to be at the state level with this kind of stuff. We're definitely opening ourselves up to schools. That is like our biggest push through right now is schools, because we really want people to join us in our chapter chats and newsletter. But yeah, these are all great and wonderful ideas, guys. Thank you so much.
And just
Let's
to
see.
chime in, if people have specific organizations such as Hilltop, if there is a group of mental health therapists within your regional area that you're like, you need to get connected with this group, because we will be extending invites. And so if you know of champions and people that are really passionate about having youth and family voice and engagement in the behavioral health arena, we'd love to connect with them and be able to invite them. So thanks.
I'm noticing disability service providers. That is a big one that I feel like we should really pick up on. Anyways, yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm going to hand it back over to Kippy, I believe.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to do this a little bit here. So Kippy had said that I was going to talk about the FVOC and the YVAL. She actually did a really good job of that. I'm a little new to that. I do know that that they've done a YVAL process here, and that there's going to be kind of pick up from where that was. I don't know if there's been an FVOC or a family VOC, and it's for family voice on council and communities, I think is what that really stands for. And so I think it's really to do an assessment of where communities are and where agencies are in their really implementing it. And this is my understanding. So if that is their, it's a way to look at communities to kind of look at how they're doing with family voice. And, you know, as far as, and it's more, my simple way of putting it is it's more than having a family member at a meeting. It's how is that integrated into the overall process. So that's kind of a simple man's oversimplification of that. But I think that's going to be just one piece of the bigger puzzle of how do we make sure that we're really incorporating this. And just a note, I don't know if that family, whatever was a typo, but I love it because it's not a system family driven, it's a family thing. So, but the, so that process, we're going to be incorporating that. The training and auditing, I don't think anybody's really talked specifically about this. Training, auditing, and input, which I think is a wonderful idea, is it's going to have youth and families be able to audit trainings and other materials and get compensated for their time to do that, but really give feedback and ideas and direction on their perspective of what they're hearing. And I could tell you as a trainer, there's a lot of times where we spend tons of time on curriculum and we think we got it, but we think we got it from our perspective. And so I think that is huge to be able to get that kind of input back and actually incorporate that into future training curriculum and curricula. And the idea that we're able to compensate them for doing that, I think is a really good idea. And also just on that, so training, and then also on messaging, you know, and I don't know, Kippy, you had mentioned earlier, I know we're going to have access through social media, whether that, I don't know, Drake, if that's our own website or if that's a connection to a COACT site, but it is really something that is client, parent, youth friendly, that, you know, that has their content that is driven by them. And so it's more than just flipping on a really nice, pretty website that really doesn't mean a whole lot to, you know, to somebody. Let me just see. I just want to make sure I cover and this actually was just talked about in that last mentee, was the idea that we've talked a lot about family and youth voice, and it's also other agency, you know, family and youth serving agencies, that collaboration with them and involvement by them is also huge in this process. And so I kind of thought, well, you know, maybe that wasn't there, but I think that was a great question of really who could be there to help this overall success of this process that we're talking about. And then the last thing is just more from a, I don't know if it's from a line level, but really just working on some support networks for advocates that are working, advocates and families that are working involved on the day-to-day stuff, is to be able to just have some networking availabilities across the state or across regions, to be able to provide some support in that way is another part of what I think the lead family coordinator is going to be charged with on kind of maybe being the coordinator of that piece.
Yeah, Palmer, I'll jump in, and Drake, you can add some as we start with this last question. Is, you know, we're working on the steps for the social media. I know there'll be a connection to the COACT site, but we really are wanting the site to be owned and led by family. We have the beginning of Youth Move Colorado's website, which I put in the chat. We also, Youth Move Colorado has a Facebook page. And this is, Drake met with the youth and the young people gave him feedback, and he continues to update the communication and the outreach using their voice. We'll be doing the same when we get to the family page, which I think is really a critical thing. Is we want to make sure that all of the technology we might use and communication tools are resonant. They fit with our family and youth, and it's places that they can easily go and find the information they need. So Palmer, I think you were going to take this, but I'll kick it off and I'll let you finish it. But you heard a lot so far about the Family Youth Hub, and we really want you to share, like, what are your hopes? You know, I've been involved with COACT since day one, and we've always talked about developing this hub. And so I have my ideas about what I hope this hub will create, but we'd love to hear from all of you about your ideas. And Palmer, I'll let you reflect on this as the answers come in.
Okay. Okay, that's a good one. That I think is a really important one, and I think it's definitely on the the agenda, and I think it's going to be a task, is to make it a state, to have statewide impact, you know, and as you even get to maybe more rural, less, you know, places that don't have as many resources, but to be able to kind of have everybody involved in that is a big one. Youth are at the center of everything about them. Perfect. Okay. All encompassing. Yep, that becomes, I'm interpreting that is just the norm, that it becomes, of course, you have family and youth leading this, you know, once we're there. Yeah, so really voice at the policy level. Okay. Yeah, well, this along with, I got to say, every mentee, you could tell this comes from a really strengths-based group of people, because it just seems like there's a lot of, you know, I honestly, I think it's a tall task just because there's so many moving parts, and we have to have so many people to make this successful. But everything has been, you know, kind of a strengths-based piece where, you know, it instills a little hope. Okay, well, I think unless someone's typing a whole lot on one thing, I think we're good with this. Is Chris, are you coming in now?
Yes.
Or Denise?
Here I am. Sorry, my boys are.
That's okay. I didn't know if it was you or Denise.
So they're a little all over the place. So I'm just looking at a couple. There was a question in here. Will the hub have listing of the high fidelity wraparound organizations for each region? And so we can definitely consider that. One of the places that currently is, and we need to circle back together, Amy, is on our COAC Colorado website. If you scroll down to find services, we do have a map and that we can put specific organization contact information. So that's something we can do right now. So you and I should follow up so we can get that up there. And ultimately, you know, if that is a beneficial resource for families around the state, I do get a lot of contacts from families through COAC Colorado and various mental health and behavioral health professionals looking to access resources for their families that they're either have or that they're working with specific to wraparound. So I think, you know, being able to make sure families and young people are connected to those resources, as Palmer said, as for hopes for the Youth and Family Hub. So let's see, was there one more question? Okay, so I just want to thank everyone. We are at a point of closing, so we are wrapping up a little earlier than planned, which is totally okay, especially for a Monday. But really want to, if anybody wants to ask any other questions, where's more information, we have put, thanks Drake for managing chat with all the links of being able to stay connected. Kippy just sent out the July newsletter, which I forward out to our distribution list. So if folks, you know, so one, I apologize if that's repetitive and duplicate information, but I want to make sure people are informed and have the various opportunities on how to stay connected or get connected. So I am happy to, if anybody has any questions about that, we're happy to get you connected. Any other questions?
I think, Chris, the one thing, this is Denise, if folks could please fill out this evaluation survey of this meeting. We're going to be working with you all for a long time. And so we want to find out what worked about this, what didn't work, what else should we be doing. So Drake put that in the chat as well. So if you wouldn't mind, it'll help us and it'll help you so that we meet your needs.
All right. Well, I was just giving a long pause for questions if anybody wanted to come off mute. Thank you, Toby, for putting your contact and the other team members putting contacts. As I said, we will be sending out all this information via a recording or a follow-up email, including this recording. So if you need to go back, review, and share with your networks, you'll have all that information. There'll be more to come and more events that we all come together so people know what is happening and staying informed, so you are connected, as well as the young people and the family members that you are working with. So I just appreciate everybody. Any final thoughts from any of our team members before we end the kickoff meeting?
Well, I'll make a shameless promotion. It is in there. Just know that tomorrow at 4 o'clock is our monthly Youth Move All Youth Chapter Chat. It's always the fourth Tuesday of the month at 4 o'clock, and we put the link in there. Please come, please invite young people you're working with, and thank you all for joining. It's great for you to be a part of this.
Great. Thanks, everybody, and have a good rest of the day.